In Terry Gilliam's film Brazil, defining characteristics of 20th century Western society are satirized. But Gilliam is not a misanthrope, nor a Luddite. Rather, he satirizes these characteristics in order to demonstrate how they can lead to a loss of individuality, and as such, our humanity. In this scene, we see the epitome of conformity. Even the color palette is largely conformed to the dull, matte gray that characterizes the film. However, we also hear the musical motif that runs throughout the film, the song Brazil, which serves as a fantasy of escapism, liberation, and love, and represents an inkling of hope and the resilience of the human spirit. At the beginning of the film, the hustle and bustle of corporate bureaucracy is juxtaposed with the serene and spiritual dreams of our protagonist, Sam Lowry. However, the crisis of modernity increasingly interferes with his fantasies. For example, here skyscrapers burst from the lush earth and block his way to the woman of his dreams. The inciting incident of the film occurs when a dead fly falls into the machinery at the Ministry of Information, thus causing the name of a suspected terrorist, Tuttle, to be changed to Buttle.
Tuttle? His name's Buttle. There must be some mistake.
Mistake? We don't make mistakes.
The incompetency of bureaucracy combined with the prevalent idea that the ministry is infallible proves that the work they are doing doesn't need to be right or moral. They just need to keep doing the work. This incessant busy work is, in reality, counterproductivity hidden underneath the veneer of constant progress. The content and value of the work in Lowry's department is irrelevant. For example, it does not seem to matter whether the boss says yes or no, so long as they remain constantly in motion under the guise of efficiency. This is paralleled by the technology in the film, which purports to make one's life easier and more efficient, yet fails constantly. The bureaucracy in the film is also incredibly dehumanizing. For example, this woman's entire job is transcribing the terrified screams of torture victims who are reduced to a simple clerical task.
Can I help you?
Lowry himself also becomes increasingly dehumanized throughout the film. At his first position, his boss uses his name. However, when he gets promoted, his identity is reduced to a number.
Congratulations, DZ-015. Welcome to the team.
Yes! No!
The dehumanization of the bureaucracy is also apparent in Sam's attitude. Following a bombing at a restaurant, neither Sam nor his dining companions really seem to care about the people who are injured, only that their meal is being inconvenienced. When he is implored to do something about the terrorists, Sam says,
"It's my lunch hour. Besides, it's not my department."
Another characteristic of society that the film satirizes is consumerism. Here, we see that the road leading out of the city is lined on either side by billboards, which are so tall and close together that they are able to conceal the desolate wasteland surrounding the city. Indeed, consumption is a religious act in the film, as evidenced by this Consumers for Christ banner. When Sam is eventually arrested, his financial status and ability to be a consumer are more important than his humanity and his life.
Don't fight it, son. Confess quickly. If you hold out too long, you could jeopardize your credit rating.
Another expression of this consumerism is the obsession that Sam's mother has with physical beauty. Her body becomes a product of an industry, which goes on to exploit her for the rest of her life. This mirrors the superficial progress of excessive bureaucracy. It may look like it is achieving something, but underneath this facade of youth and vitality is an old, failing system. Most of the adults in the film subscribe to their bureaucratic and consumerist society without questioning it. This is because they are indoctrinated from a young age to conform. Take note of this boy, for example, the only one in his group looking in a different direction, and he is admonished for it. In his interior world, Sam attempts to fight the forces of society that keep imagination and humanity oppressed. However, Gilliam presents the imagination in an ambivalent way. It is portrayed as both a form of liberation, yet also a solipsistic prison. Lowry unconsciously knows this. For example, after one of his imaginative battles, he realizes that he is only really fighting himself. Even when Sam actually encounters Jill, the woman of his dreams, Gilliam suggests that his love for her is initially less about her and more about his idea of her as a woman in need of saving, and him attempting to access his heroic alter ego in real life, even though all of his heroic efforts accomplish nothing in reality. For example, this moment with the mirror reinforces the idea that Sam is partially projecting himself onto Jill, and is engaging to an extent with his unconscious idea of her rather than engaging fully with the reality of who Jill is as a person. This second scene, wherein Sam appears to be fighting with himself, is a subtle suggestion by Gilliam that while the imagination is a beautiful and liberating thing, it also has the power to ensnare those who delve too deeply into it. At the end of the film, we are tricked into believing that Sam has finally bridged the gap between fantasy and reality, asserted his individuality, and escaped his dehumanizing society. However, we discover that Sam has been lobotomized, and that his liberation is only taking place within his mind. On the one hand, the imagination is presented as the aspect of the human spirit that cannot be destroyed, the aspect that can withstand and overcome the crisis of modernity. We are led to believe that one can always mentally transcend one's material conditions in a stoic manner because consciousness is inherently free. Even if one's body is compromised or controlled, one's mind is always one's own. However, on the other hand, such an escape is itself an act of imprisonment within the mind. Thus, the imagination is but a bittersweet inkling of hope. At the end of the film, we are left in a state of longing as Lowry half-heartedly sings the musical motif representative of his imaginative longing for escape.
Tomorrow was another day. The morning found me miles away, with still a million things to say.